This is James Lupton. I'm delighted to be joined with the British and Commonwealth champion Ash Lane. Ash, how are you?
Yeah, well, I'm very good thinking, mate. I couldn't be better, really.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Let's start off at round one. We're going to go to your last fight. We're going to go to you capturing the British title and the Commonwealth, of course, as well. But the British title is a title that you'd always wanted. Um, 18 years ago, you told your local newspaper you would win the British title. And as I mentioned, 18 years later, that came true. And your words were manifested essentially. What did that night mean to you?
It's hard to put into words, really. Like that moment of the referee jumping in and saving Bork and me having my hand raised. It's all kind of like it all happened so fast that it's hard to really picture the emotions. But all I can say is that it's just breathtaking. The feeling. I mean, it definitely hasn't sunk in. It's been nearly a week and my head's kind of in the clouds still. I'm trying to ground myself and keep myself, on a straight and narrow, but it's very hard because it's like, it took 18 years to become an overnight sensation in a lot of ways. And it does mean, I mean, that night was just unbelievable. It meant the world to me.
You mentioned, it's not really sunk in yet. Is there still like an adrenaline high for yourself at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't sleep at all Friday night. Saturday, I just clunked out because I was so tired. Um, but it's weird because I'm going to bed and I feel kind of like I feel kind of spaced out a little bit. Like I'm struggling to kind of take it all in. So I'm going to bed. I feel a little bit spaced out. It all feels a bit weird. And then I'm going to sleep and I'm waking up and I've still got that feeling where it's all kind of a bit weird. It's like I'm in dreamland, and I'm just waiting for that moment where everything just feels normal again. But I don't know how long that'll take.
Talk to me about I mean, it must be what, Sunday, well, if you didn't sleep Friday night, must be sort of Sunday when you woke up, the first time you woke up as the British champion. Could you mentioned obviously you still feel a bit in the bubble. Have you sort of come to the realization that you are the champion yet?
No, no. I mean, I'm carrying the belts everywhere I go. Everybody wants to see them. Everybody wants a photo. And everybody's talking to me about the fight. I was just down the gym earlier, and lads coming up to me saying, "Oh, I watched your fight. I was wicked," and talking to me about it, and it just doesn't seem real. I've never had this before, um, and it is nice to have this kind of recognition from people. But like I say, I just need to keep myself grounded and look onto look forward. Don't ever look back, look forward and see what's coming next. And I can't do that if my head's in the clouds, so I need to take some time and really ground myself soon.
You say you can't look backwards, but one thing you can do is, or in terms of backwards in history, is your name is now forever in history. You will
Yeah,
always be known as a man who's been a British champion. And correct me if I'm wrong, the first from Northampton, first
yeah.
British champion from Northampton, which is a massive, massive accolade to yourself and you're a credit to your Northampton and to the sport as well. What does that mean to you to know you've made history?
Well, I mean that's been my goal ever since I was 15 years old. To be that first British champion from Northampton, and like it's always seemed so far away. It's like the 5 minute mile being broken. It always seems so far away until it's actually done. And now it's actually done. And I've done it. And it's like it almost seems like now that it's been done, it doesn't seem so much of a big deal. It's like even though like in the history books it's a massive deal, it just doesn't feel like a big deal anymore. Because it's been broken. It's weird to be honest. Very, very weird, but I'm just very happy that I was the one to pave the way for the next generation to, be able to show these lads and tell them coming up that, they can do it as well. If I can do it, they can do it.
You mentioned this, quite an interesting point, how now it's been broken, that record, and you've been the first to do it. It doesn't feel that big of a deal no longer. Does that just show how humble you are? Do you feel you would feel it's a big achievement if it was somebody else who had done that?
It's a massive achievement no matter who did it. I mean, it's like the person to run the first 5 minute mile. I mean, I don't know who did it, but it could have been anybody. And whoever was that first person to do it, it would have been a massive, massive deal. And I think that's the same, I mean, we have some great boxers from Northampton like Carl Fale and Ben Fale, Kieran Conway as well, and Ethan James. I mean, any one of them could have done it, and it would have been a huge deal. So I don't think it matters who did it. Um, I always try to be humble. You know, my missus, she keeps me grounded very well. She always tells me, I mean, keep the circle close and, you know, um, you've got to ground yourself. I mean, the next day after the fight, we went down the stables and we were, looking at the horse and stuff like that because getting outside and grounding yourself is such a big deal. We've been able to keep your head on your shoulders. So she keeps me grounded very well. But I do try to stay humble. I mean, look, I try to say, I'm not talking like I'm some celebrity. I'm just a normal guy. I started boxing because I was bullied. I've had nothing for most of my life, and I've made something out of it. But I'm really just a normal guy from off the streets. And if I can achieve something, anybody can achieve something. I haven't been the most skillful. I haven't been the biggest puncher. I haven't got the best IQ, but somehow I've just managed to achieve something special. And, like I say, if I can do that, anybody can do it.
Talk to me about the your career. It's been ups and downs, highs and lows, and you mentioned there yourself, really. You touched on it quite well. You've always wanted that British title. It's been your dream since you was 15 years old. Did you ever give up on that dream, or did you ever feel like that moment may have passed for you?
Yeah, yeah, a few times. 20, 2017, um, I was suffering with bulimia. I was just going through a really hard time, studying, working, training, dieting. And I went through a stage of bulimia and I ended up having a breakdown in the shower. I said to Chris Sanigar the next day, I'm going to retire, I'm giving up. And they managed to talk me around. 6 months later, or 4 months later, whatever it was, I won the Commonwealth title. Pardon me. So, I mean, like, that kept the dream alive for a bit. But then 2020, when I was meant to have comeback fight against Mark Leach, that got called off due to COVID. And I spent some time. Well, the first time in my life, I had a proper job that I was earning okay money with. I could eat what I want. I didn't have to worry about anything. I was drinking most nights, to be fair. Um, and I was just enjoying my life, as a normal person. I never done that since I started boxing at 15. So I was really enjoying the time out, and I did. I turned around and I said to everybody, "No, I'm retired now." Yeah, I think it was in the summer of 2020. I said I was retired, and then Chris Saliga rang me and offered me a fight with Kasash back at 3 weeks' notice. And I thought, yeah, why not? I'll just take the fight, earn a bit of money. I didn't really care about winning. I'd given up on all of that. I just thought I'd have a little payday before Christmas. But when he when, when he spanked me in 4 rounds, I thought, I can't retire on that. And my hunger come back. And the British title still wasn't on my mind. I just had the hunger to come back and prove that I shouldn't, be taking an ass whooping like that. And before you know it, here I am. My missus always she's told me again and again and again. I've lost count how many times she's told me I'll win the British title. just said, I've always believed in you that you win the British title. And she was right, you know.
Absolutely. Let's move on to round two. Let's go back to the start. You mentioned you started boxing at 15 because you're getting bullied. Do you remember the first day in the gym? And if you do you remember if you were scared?
I wasn't scared. I was nervous, but I wasn't scared. I was nervous and excited. Um, and I remember going into the boxing gym, and it was just like an opening night, an open evening for people to go and look because it was just opening up. So I was kind of nervous, kind of uh, excited at the same time. I'd never been to a boxing gym before. I wasn't really interested in boxing. I just needed to do something to defend myself and build my confidence up. Um, so, you know, I went there and I remember being crowded, and there was John Daly, Colin Ward, um, and John Cox, and a few others. You know, kind of coach and then talking everyone around. And I remember hitting the bag. I think Rob Brennan was there as well. I remember hitting the bag, and I think it might have been Colin Ward that was showing me a few bits and bobs or talking to me a little bit, and I didn't have a clue. John Daly says that I've lost count how many times he said it. Took him like 3 months to teach me how to throw a jab. You know, I was throwing punches all over the place. It just didn't come natural to me. Not the skill side anyway. But what did come natural to me was um, the love that I felt in, that I gained for boxing. I was just addicted to it from day one, and I absolutely loved going down the boxing gym. I remember going home and showing my mum, um, I was doing chest raises and burpees, and I never done this stuff before. But I said, "Look, this is what I'm doing down the gym, and I'm doing all these press ups and burpees and chest raises and stuff like that, and showing off." And I really got into it, and yeah, I remember that first night like it was yesterday.
You mentioned you went obviously to defend yourself and to build your confidence. How quickly did your confidence grow?
Um, I think it took a little bit of time to be honest. I wasn't that confident straight away. It did take a bit of time. But I remember, I mean, I started boxing when I was 15. So I remember being 16, going to a Minehead, Butlins and Minehead with a friend of mine. And there was this boy and girl there who we saw every day. Didn't really talk to them much at the beginning, but we just saw them every day. And one day, I can't remember how we got talking, but one day they turned around me and they said, they turned around and they said, "Do you box?" I went, "Yeah, I do." Well, like, how do you know that? They said, "Well, because you walk around with confidence. You look like a boxer. You walk around with this like air of confidence." I thought I've never had that before because I've always been shy. I've always been timid, and I've always been like say afraid to walk down dark alleyways. But then when I think about it now, it's probably 6 months after starting boxing that I remember there was a dark alleyway near a park close to my house. I remember like I always used to swerve it at night because I didn't want to go in there. I remember one night I just decided to walk straight through because I thought, well, what the heck? No, I got the confidence, let's go, let's walk through. I mean, nothing happened. I mean, fear is just a figment of your imagination. But I remember that's probably 6 months after starting boxing. So it did take me a little bit of a while to build the confidence. But like I do remember built like it coming up.
Some people might hear that and think, it's quite a silly thing. It's nothing to walk through a dark alleyway. But was that a quite a turning point for you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that was a specific turning point, like a big one for me in my life, but it's little bits that all add up, and that was a little bit that, like, I mean, once I knew I could walk through a dark alleyway without being attacked or jumped or, knowing I can look after myself, that was a huge turning point. to me. I mean, I was bullied at school, and after boxing, I was starting boxing. I remember one time the lad was down the park, which I'm talking about, and I can't remember, we got in a bit of a argument, and he had me. He went to hit me, went to kick me, and I got him in a headlock, and I remember his mate had a bike and went into him. But as it stands now, he went to like give me a bit of grief, and I got him in a headlock, and I defended myself for the first time in my life. I actually defended and stood up for myself, and that was due to boxing. And to me, that is a bigger turning point because I stood up to someone who was picking on me at school, and I had to I had to take a different route to school just to like stay out of his way. And now I didn't need to because I had the confidence to stand up to him, and that was a big turning point for me.
Absolutely. Let's move on to round three. You've been the underdog in the ring many times, but you've also been an underdog in life as well. After your last fight, you had your speech and you spoke about homelessness and suicidal thoughts and a lot of lows in your life, Ash. Um, Talk to me first of all how you became homeless, why, and also the entail of suicidal thoughts and the depression side of things. What happened, Ash?
Okay, so I'll try and keep it as short as I can, but my dad moved out when I was 6. I didn't see him until I was 18 again. At the same time, I was having problems with my mum's husband. We was fighting in the house. Won't go into it, but I ended up moving out the house with my nan's. I moved out of my nan's house again, and I ended up just living in my car for a while. I had a girlfriend down in Devon, but I was living up in Northampton. So, I was sleeping in my car. I used to let myself into a Falcon boxing club at night and sleep on the sofa. Or, I had a friend, James, who used to go around his apartment and sleep on a mattress on the floor. And it was like that for a few months before I moved down to Devon. Um, and then, that relationship broke up, moved back up to Northampton. And then I ended up having to move out again. And I ended up on a mattress on my mate's floor again in Birmingham just before I moved down to Bristol. Um, and then down in Bristol, I got a flat and this and that, but then relationship turned sour, didn't work out, and I was sleeping in my car again. So I've had a few stints of like, not having anywhere to live, and I've had to like sleep on sofas, mattresses, in my car, with all my bags in like black bin bags and all my clothes and everything in black bin bags, and it's just not been nice. And I remember when I was down in Devon, I received a letter. I won't go into it, but I received a horrible, like really upsetting letter from certain people. Um, and it broke my heart. And I remember this was Christmas Eve. I received this letter, and I remember Christmas Eve, sat on the bed, uh, cradling my legs in my arms, rocking backwards and forwards, just pouring my eyes out, crying. And I had a penknife, and I took the penknife up and I cut myself because I like the pain that I felt. I just wanted to get rid of it, and it didn't work. It never does work. So if anybody ever thinks that self harm is the way forward, it isn't. It never ever is. But talking about it does help. No, I've always struggled to have people to talk to. So to me, self harming was the way of trying to like get past that pain. It just made it worse. And then yeah, like this suicidal thoughts. Like there was one time when I was driving down to Bristol, and it was silly really, but I had no money. I didn't have a job, so I was living in Birmingham. I was living in Birmingham. I was sleeping on a mattress in my mate's house. It was a house which had nothing in it, just a microwave and stuff like that. And I was sleeping. I had all my stuff in black bin bags, and I was sleeping on this mattress. And I come down to Sparrow Lee Haskins for 50 quid just to get a bit of money. was on job seekers. I had a car, but the car had no insurance, no tags, and three bald tires. I was like pretty bugger like. Um, and I was driving down the motorway to come as far with Lee Haskins, and one of the tires blew. So I pulled over, and my head was spinning. I was already in a dark place anyway. Um, my head was absolutely spinning, and I saw the I was trying to work out what to do, and I saw the traffic officer pull up, start pouring cones out, and I thought, I'm banged to rights here. I mean, I'm like, driving illegally pretty much. I'm banged to rights. So I just remember being stood there, cars flying past me on the roadway, 60, 70 miles an hour, just putting the cones out, and I'm looking at every car, and I'm working out in my mind which car I'm going to walk out in front of and kill myself. I was just stood there. I'm going to do it in front of this car. I'm going to walk in front of that car. This is the car that's going to do it. And I don't know what stopped me, but the woman, the traffic officer, she started walking over, and I was stood there looking at all these cars. And as she walked over, I just turned around and sat on the rock on the floor, and my head was in my hands. And she turned around and she said, "Are you all right, son?" And she said, "Are you all right?" And I just burst out in tears. Um, I just break down. And I told her, I said, "Look," I said, "I've got no job, no money, I've got no family. Um, I want to kill myself. Look, this, and this." And I mean, if she did a job, I'd have had a fine, I'd have had my license took off me. I'd have been banged to rights, as I say. But I mean, like, I really believe that the angels were looking after me, because instead of doing a job, she turned around, she took pity on me. She gave me a hug. She gave me a tenner for food. She gave me £10 so I could go get some lunch, and then sent me on my way with the recovery truck. And I mean, like, just the kindness, like real humanity and empathy. And then I was at the recovery place, and I was pacing up and down trying to work out how I was going to get some money to get the tire fixed and pay to get my car out and this and that. And again, like the lads, like 4 or 5 lads, just took pity on me, and they all had a little whip round, chucked like 10, 15 quid in each. And one of them drove me to a scrapyard nearby, got me a couple of tires, took me back, we fixed them on my car, and sent me on my way. And like that was like that day will live with me forever. It will literally, I will never forget, just because of the kindness of people's hearts. You know, but that was one of those suicidal days. I mean, I used to there's probably loads of people that can relate to this. There was one point as well, just before that time, I remember one time I went out for a family meal, and I used to do this regularly. Like, I drink 3, 4, 5, 6 glasses of red wine, red wine was what I like to drink. So I used to drink quite a lot of red wine with food. And then people say, you can't drive home, Dad. And I say, no, I'm fine, I can drive. And I'll be driving home. And as I'm driving home, I'm like driving past bollards and walls, and I'm I'm picking which bollard or wall I'm going to drive into. And luckily, I never did it. Like say, there was one time I went out for family meal, and I was doing just that. I was driving home, I was absolutely, I was drunk, and I was picking which bollard to walk in to drive into, and I did, and I just found myself home. But I then got a load of pills, and I drank some more, and I was going to down all these pills and just end my life that way. I fell asleep. It was looking at the next day. I chucked him in the bin. I thought, I can't do this. I gotta move on. I've got to do something about it. But I mean, there are probably millions of people in the world, or thousands. There could be like people listening to this now, thinking this is the exact same sort of situation that they're in. Um, and to be fair, it's heartbreaking. Like, when I think about it, it kind of brings tears to my eyes, you know.
Absolutely. That brings me on to round four, and that is having a purpose in life. Does boxing give you a purpose?
Yeah, I feel like it does. I feel like sometimes I've lost my purpose in life with boxing, but I do feel like it's my purpose. I mean, like maybe my purpose isn't boxing. Maybe my purpose is to inspire and motivate and help the youth of today. I work with kids anyway, so it's my partner. So maybe that is my purpose to help the youth. But maybe the way I do it, or I have to do it, is through boxing, being able to inspire and motivate, and maybe my story can help people in hard times.
Definitely. Let's move on to round five. Early in your career, first three fights, one win, one draw, one loss. When you took that loss so early on in your career, did you lose any ambition? Did you feel you may have to go down a journeyman route?
No, no, and I'll tell you why. It's because it shouldn't have been a loss. Like that was a head clash. I remember having a video on my old phone. I haven't got it now, unfortunately. I remember having a video on my old phone. I remember there being a head clash, which was a big cut above my eye, and the referee said it was from a punch and stopped it. And so I knew that I shouldn't have given up because not especially to go down the German route because I knew like it shouldn't have been a loss. So I just thought carry on with what you're doing. You can make it.
With a lot of fighters, they obviously look at Floyd Mayweather, for example, and there's a lot of protect the O, the unbeaten record, and there's a lot of value put onto that O on the loss column. Did you, because obviously where you lost that so early on in your career, did you ever affect you in that way, or did you ever feel like, "Do you know what, it is what it is, move on, to keep collecting wins"?
Yeah, but I mean, like back at that time, I was going through some tough times anyway, so it kind of put me down a bit. But at the end of the day, I've always had this heart and desire to just grit my teeth and move on. And so when I lost that fight, I was like, okay, I shouldn't have lost it. So just grit your teeth, move on. Next fight, who's that? Oh, Gavin McDonald, cool. Don't know who he is. He's away from home. I just got to fight. I'm a professional boxer. Professional boxers fight. So let's just go. Let's fight and let's see how we get on. I believe I can win a lot of fights. To be fair, I wasn't very good at the beginning of my career. Um, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I was a very average boxer, but I had guts, heart, and determination. And that's what I used at the beginning.
That's it. It takes you a long way. Round six, September 2017, Michael Ramavaletsa. You won the Commonwealth title. What did that feel like after such an up and down pro career? And like I say, not the best of starts in your career.
Yeah, no, that felt amazing. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I spent my whole night I was awake, you know. And it meant I mean I put a post out after that fight about my life, a little inside story into it just because it felt so much to overcome so many obstacles and to win a major title, especially against a former opponent, who I believe that shouldn't, he beat me by a point before, but I believe I should have won. Um, but Roman Bledsoe turned into a friend in between those fights as well. So, it is what it is. But to overcome all of those obstacles and never have been, it just meant so much to me. And it was an unbelievable night. Um, that'll always be in the back of my mind as well. But the British that comes first.
No, absolutely. Round seven, after your last fight against Chris Sport, you called out Thomas Isomba. He's a European champion. Are you now looking at, obviously progressing on European title in your sights? Is that your target? What are your ambitions now? Is it the European title and then potentially looking at winding down towards retirement, or are you looking to still push on again and look for potential world honours if you do get European title?
Well, you know what? Like I've contemplated this quite a lot, and I genuinely thought that once I won the British title, that'll be me kind of like all set and done. I can just have a few fights, enjoy it, earn a bit of money, like a bit of a bonus, and then retire. because I'll be happy I've achieved my goal since being 15, but that ain't happening. I'll like since winning, I've just got the bug even more. I've got more hunger. I want more. I was back in the gym on Monday, just ticking over a little bit of spin bike and this and that. And I've hit the gym twice a day. I'm hungry for more success. I'm hungry for more fights, and I've always believed that I'm British boxing level at least. Whether that was right or wrong in the past, I definitely believe it now, 100% because of my improvements the last 18 months. But I've always believed that, and I'm just even more hungry. So the European title is definitely one on one, but there's some big names out there like Paul Butler, Prince Patel, Charlie Edwards as well. I win the European title, and all it takes is one phone call. You got a world title opportunity against one of these great lads, and that'll be a privilege to share the ring with one of them. But everything from here on is a bonus. So I'm hungry as ever, but I understand it's a bonus, and we'll just see what happens.
You mentioned earlier when you fought Kes Ashfaq that you was all but retired, and then when you lost in that fashion, it gave you more hunger and motivation. This British title, that was your target. You felt like you win that and you can sail off into the sunset. But winning that, has that given you that same sort of motivation that that loss to Kes Ashfaq did to continue and push on?
You know, I'm thinking about it right now, and again, tingles in my heart because I feel like it's giving me more motivation. And I think that's because I actually truly believe in myself now. I've spent my whole career and I've never believed in myself once. Even before the Rama Bellezza fight, I didn't believe myself. I wasn't sure if I'd be good enough to win. And then when I boxed Brad Foster, I didn't actually believe I'd be good enough to win. I was kind of like, I never believed in myself at all. The Ashak fight, I only took that for the money. So I mean, I knew I'd probably lose that fight anyway. I just didn't care. Um, and then my comeback, I honestly didn't believe myself again. I just had the fire in me to prove that I shouldn't retire when I lost. And then I had to give, I had to give my missus Shelly, I had to give her a massive amount of credit. Lee Haskins, Dean Lewis, and Kieran Farrell. I have to give them all, and Dave Entwistle as well. I have to give them all massive credit. My team, and my missus, because they've all stuck with me. They've all pushed me, and they've all instilled this confidence in me. Like Lee Haskins been telling me for years, you'll be at your peak when you're 30, 32, 33. You'll hit your peak late. Um, just in that change room before the Chris Borg fight, the, the confidence that they instilled in me, like they really truly made sure in the Perkins fight as well. They all truly made me believe that I would win these fights, that I'm good enough to win these fights. I win them in style and devastating fashion, and that's what I've done. And now I'm truly, genuinely starting to believe that I am good enough to win these fights. And I want to be number one in the division. I want to be number one in Britain. So, you know, and I believe I can get there, but we just gotta wait and see, haven't we?
No, absolutely. That brings us through to the final round, round eight. It's not a topic like the last seven have been. This is, as you mentioned earlier, potentially what your purpose in life is. This is advice. I want to ask you to give advice to people who are going through adversity, who, whether it be homelessness, suicidal thoughts, any battles and demons they're fighting, not in the ring, but with life. What advice do you give anyone?
Don't ever give up, man. Never give up. What I mean, I've had so many times, I thought I was down and out. I've been stood in the kitchen with a knife to my wrist, contemplating cutting myself and ending it all, cutting my wrists. driving into walls, drunk, taking pills, and ending in self-harming. Um, I've thought about jumping off bridges the whole lot, and make myself sick. And you can't ever give up, man. Can't ever give up. Like, if you have to talk to someone, talk to someone. I find that the best thing for me is to get down the gym and hit the punch bag. It just clears your head. Go for a run, clear your head, have a walk, swim, bike, anything. Just don't give up. That's the worst thing you can do is give up. Because, you know, we're on this planet for a reason. Whether you feel your purpose is in this planet, we all have one. So no one's like can't ever give up, man. Like you've all got a purpose in this life. Go out there and live it. Go and achieve something. We can all do it. All you gotta do is just grit your teeth and get through.
Absolutely. Fantastic words. Ash, I want to thank you very much for your time. It brings us to the end of the interview. Been a real pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for being so open, honest, and telling us your story.
No problem at all. Any time.